What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I was actually going to make this video a little while ago, but I just never got around to it. But I just read an article that made me want to go ahead and put this video out. Now, just a quick disclaimer. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts, ego thoughts on a certain situation. So if you don't want to hear my thoughts, you might as well X out of your window, pause it, go to another video, or whatever you got to do. But this is just my thoughts, but it is based on observation and facts that I've seen. So it's about Oscar De La Hoya. And again, the last thing I'll say is this is not to belittle or slander or hurt feelings, or I know I got to be politically correct because I know some people are sensitive, like you hate Oscar and all this and that. So nothing like that. I don't do that on my channel. But I've noticed there's been a bit of a struggle lately with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy. And in my opinion, I think that Golden Boy is they're going through tough times right now. And I'm going to expand on that in this video and let you know why I feel that way. And I feel it's a bit of desperation. And I actually hate to say the word desperation because businesses go through this. Sometimes you have to rebuild, regroup, and you know what I mean? You have your ups and downs just like any other business. So maybe not desperate. For this video, we'll say troubles. And this is the trouble that I see with Golden Boy currently. And I actually feel bad because Oscar De La Hoya, he being a former fighter himself, he thought he was doing the noble thing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna end the Cold War. Every fan that I know when I was doing my videos and stuff, they hated the Cold War because we're fans. We just want to see good fights, and that's all we care about. You know what I mean? So he stood behind an idea, and he stepped on certain people's toes and burned certain bridges. Long story short, it was basically a facelift at Golden Boy. Richard Schaefer, a longtime partner of Golden Boy, no longer working with him. He cut ties basically. Al Heyman did his own thing. Al Heyman, as you can see, had plans for the PBC, and he's on every network. In that process, one relationship that was mended was Oscar De La Hoya's relationship with Bob Arum. So you look at it current day, and it's like Golden Boy, in my opinion, they're going through troubled times because they're the only company. Well, actually, let me first start off by telling you what prompted this. I think that'll be a better fit, so I can transition right into the rest of this video. So Oscar De La Hoya just said in the article that I read that Lucas Matisse, he wants the winner of Mayweather Pacquiao. Now, just to touch on that, absolutely absurd. I like Lucas Matisse a lot, but here's why it's absurd. One, Lucas Matisse has a tough, tall order in front of him versus Ruslan Provodnikov. There's no guarantee that he gets past Ruslan Provodnikov. So to even foreshadow to an even bigger fight, now everyone wants to see like fight of the year type of epic fight could be Ruslan. Some people want to see that and tune in. I definitely do. You know what I mean? But blockbuster fight is Mayweather Pacquiao. I'm definitely a fan of both of those fights. But either way, you have to get past Ruslan first. So that's one reason it's absurd. Then, if it was a couple years ago and Lucas Matisse had continued to win, that's one thing. Because a lot of people may have considered him undefeated at a point in time before the Danny Garcia loss. Because he lost to Zab Judah and Devin Alexander on paper. But a lot of critics and spectators who've seen that fight, they thought he won at least one of those, if not both of them. And they think he shouldn't have had those losses to begin with. But he fought Devin Alexander in Devin Alexander's hometown of St. Louis, and a lot of people thought he was unjustly robbed in that particular fight. So he fought guys like Humberto Soto, a Lusigan, a Jose, and all that. And then he got to the fight and the fighter that he had been calling out, Danny Garcia. That's where he ran into trouble. And if you watch the fight, which most of you guys probably have, he got his eye swollen, knocked down one time. He held his own and tried, but ultimately it wasn't the fight that a lot of people, and I'm sure he himself didn't consider. He thought he would probably stop Danny Garcia, but Danny Garcia showed a mean chin and just a good game plan. Even the low blows, because he wasn't getting worn too much for it. Those are veteran tricks. Like, okay, this guy, I gotta stop him. You know what I mean? Abnormades did it versus Joseph Gbeko. Those little sneaky, dirty tricks, and until you get penalized for it, most people are going to keep doing it. So anyway, Danny Garcia was his roadblock. In my opinion, he lost some confidence in that fight. You look at his fight after that with John Molina, a guy he probably before Danny Garcia may have soundly beat, but in that fight he got dropped twice by, and you got to keep in mind that was Molina's first fight at 140 if I'm not mistaken, and Molina dropped him twice, and then we just seen Broner fight Molina, and you could say, oh, it was a different Molina, but Broner had a better game plan to stay out of danger. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't really many opportunities for Molina to capitalize because Broner's athleticism and speed and movement and, you know what I mean, just picking off his shots. So ultimately, he did get the stoppage in the Molina fight. However, he, you know what I mean, it was a fight of the year type of candidate because it was a good action brawl type of fight. Then he fought some bum, Robert Massa, and that was ended in a weird way. Some people said premature stoppage, whatever. So I don't really, I mean, it is what it is. That's not a significant win in my book. So for Oscar De La Hoya to even be mentioning Lucas Matisse to fight Mayweather Pacquiao, to me, it sounds desperate. That sounds desperate. And the last thing is Mayweather Pacquiao, biggest fight in history. I don't know what the actual outcome. Anyone could speculate. I got a prediction just like everybody else, but we got to see how it plays out. But one thing I do know is it is the biggest fight in boxing history, or at least for the moment, whatever you want to say, right? And to me, I really can't picture one of them guys, whoever wins, whether it's Mayweather, whether it's Pacquiao, fighting Lucas Matisse, saying, you know what, I climbed the top of the mountain, right? And I beat Mayweather or I beat Pacquiao. Let me go fight Lucas Matisse, a guy who fights out of the 140-pound division. It just really doesn't make sense. If anything, I could see Mayweather and Pacquiao rematching, depending on how it ends. Mayweather possibly fighting one of the champions to unify, like a Keith Thurman, or Pacquiao fighting Keith Thurman, Kell Brook, whoever wins the fight, obviously. So those are more realistic. Another realistic fight is maybe even Danny Garcia, who keeps expressing that he wants to move up to welterweight, right? And he's the guy that beat Matisse. So it just, in the grand scheme of things, when would Matisse ever get this shot at Mayweather versus Pacquiao winner? You know what I mean? And that desperate comment, it reminded me of this video, and that's why I wanted to start with this story. I ultimately, and I'm not trying to shit on Lucas Matisse, he's a good fighter, but I mean, I doubt Mayweather or Pacquiao, whoever wins that fight, is going to be looking down a division to fight a guy who Danny Garcia already beat, already has losses to Zab Judah, Devin Alexander. Whether you like those losses or not, they're factual. It just doesn't make sense. So it just lets me know that Oscar De La Hoya he's backed up against a wall. You know what I mean? To even make comments like that. And I was just thinking, I was like, you know what? Oscar De La Hoya, for the first time in a while, his company doesn't have many like stars or many people. You know what I mean? Before, he had a lot of people because they were Al Heyman advised people. And as you guys know, Golden Boy and Al Heyman were working together. Now Al Heyman is doing his own thing. He's on CBS. They say he might be on BT. He's on NBC. Adonis Stevenson and The Better Biev, they were on CBS for the first time. The Robert Guerrero Keith Thurman fight was on NBC. Danny Garcia, Lamont Peterson's going to be on NBC. He's clearly making his own impact, and his advised fighters are doing their own thing. So he has his own structure, his own game plan, and that leaves Oscar De La Hoya up shit's creek. Now, another reason I feel that, aside from what Al Heyman's doing, actually, let me expand on Al Heyman a little bit more. Basically, per that relationship, Al Heyman and Oscar De La Hoya, that afforded Oscar a lot of fights and a lot of opportunities to make certain fights. But now, those Heyman fighters are doing their own thing with Heyman, and Oscar doesn't really have them. Like Leo Santa Cruz, another guy who Oscar, you know what I mean? They said he was trying to make a Rigondeaux fight. Leo Santa Cruz is Al Heyman advised and no longer working with Golden Boy. That has been separated. That relationship, not on a friendship level. If they seen each other, you know what I mean, at Starbucks or something, they wouldn't talk. But as a business, for the moment, they're not working together. So whatever Leo Santa Cruz, basically his career is going to be in Al Heyman's hands. Another person who's just like that is Amir Khan, who recently separated himself from the Golden Boy side of things. So whether he fights Chris Algieri, Kell Brook, whoever, it has nothing to do with Oscar De La Hoya. So I don't know if you guys see a pattern. So all of the big stars that were formerly working with Golden Boy are no longer even really affiliated with Golden Boy. Adrian Broner, Amir Khan, Leo Santa Cruz, and the list goes on and on and on. Like the Charlo brothers. I don't think Edislandi Lara. There's a ton of guys. Josecito Lopez was just on Spike TV with Andre Berto. Danny Garcia, Lamont Peterson. These are all across the pond. So Lucas Matisse is actually one of the few who said, you know what, Al Heyman, you know what I mean? He separated himself from Heyman basically. So he's no longer being represented by Al Heyman, and he extended his pact with Golden Boy. So when I started thinking about it, I'm like, that's why Oscar is saying some of these things like Lucas Matisse should fight May Pac winner. One, it's a way to circulate your fighter's name. And two, he doesn't have anybody. He doesn't really have anybody that works directly with Golden Boy. And I'm not talking about like some of the up and coming names, right? Because I'm talking about guys. Basically, the whole purpose of this video is to give you guys a perspective. I'm talking about guys who are already established. There's been, and this is the thing, this is the tricky part of business, is a lot of people that Golden Boy helped to cultivate and help to brand are no longer even Golden Boy. So Oscar is getting fucked, basically. He's getting the short end of the stick. The only guys that he really has, Lucas Matisse extended his promotional pact or signed with Golden Boy or whatever. But a lot of those guys are with Al Heyman. They're with Top Rank. They're with other promotional entities. Rock Nation just got Andre Ward and a couple other people. And the only two people of note that have been somewhat branded, if not branded, that Oscar has that I could think of off the top of my head now is Canelo, was obviously the biggest, and Lucas Matisse. But it's very slim pickings. And again, some people may not understand this video, but I'm talking about branded fighters. And by branded, I mean if you went on their Instagram probably has 45,000 or more fans because there's some promotion behind them. Guys like Adrian Broner, guys like Leo Santa Cruz, guys like Amir Khan. Those guys have all been branded, and people they built up. They built up their name. They got like exposure, whether it was an all access or 24/7 or a main event fight. They got some type of build up, and that's the thing. I think Oscar he's in dire straits right now because he doesn't have a lot of those pipelines that he once had to make fights. That's why you see him saying stuff like Lucas Matisse should fight the Mayweather Pacquiao winner, because for the first time Golden Boy is pretty much out of the loop with a lot of the money. Like, and this is the thing. He said he has a working relationship with Top Rank. They mended that, like I said earlier in this video, right? But guess what? Bob Arum is working with Mayweather Promotions and Heyman to get this Mayweather Pacquiao fight done. So Top Rank they're looking lovely. They're sitting pretty because Top Rank, they got their top rank fighter Vasyl Lomachenko on the undercard. I think Jesse Hart is going to be on the undercard. So, and they're getting a cut of the main event, you know what I mean, with Mayweather Pacquiao. So Top Rank, they're sitting pretty. They're doing good because they can work with Golden Boy. I don't know if this will be a continual thing, but at least for this one big fight, which happens to be the biggest fight of the world, they're working with Mayweather Promotion and Al Heyman. And maybe even after they see how this production goes, maybe they'll continue working with them. So Top Rank is looking good. Mayweather Promotions, you know what I mean, they got the #1 pound for pound dude. So the only person that's really out of the loop is Golden Boy. Like Golden Boy, they're not getting a cut out of the Mayweather Pacquiao May 2 fight. Name one Golden Boy fighter that is fighting on that undercard, or how are they involved in it in any way? And that's the thing. So I think it's really a trying time for Golden Boy. And then, okay, here's the last thing I'll leave you guys with. You look at the stars that Golden Boy has, they are really either underdeveloped, meaning they're guys like what's the name, Diego Diaz, just people that aren't big names yet because they haven't been introduced and they haven't had those marquee fights and stuff like that. So then you look at like Lucas Matisse, you look at Canelo, right? Those two are guys who have a good sized fan base, especially Canelo. However, their fan base, they're in the fans' perception, because I talk to a lot of fans, they're really one fight removed from being questioned. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is this. Lucas Batiste has a couple losses on his record recently to Danny Garcia. So if he gets, like, let's say he gets knocked out by Ruslan Provodnikov, his stock drops. Same thing with Canelo. Canelo is fighting James Kirkland, which I think could be a good fight, but maybe not. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's all up in the air. If Kirkland comes correct, that could be a really good fight. You know what I mean? And people already have it in their mind that Canelo has controversial wins over Austin Trout. He definitely lost to Mayweather. And then recently against Adeslandi Lara, that was another controversial win where some people thought he won, some people thought he lost. So let's say, hypothetically, if he were to lose to James Kirkland, now your two biggest names that have been branded are, their stock has plummeted. If that makes any sense to you. I'm trying to explain the business side to you. Who does Golden Boy have that is on the ascend up? Like they're on the way up. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like a Keith Thurman. You look at Keith Thurman, still undefeated, had his biggest step up test against Robert Guerrero, knocked him down once, good fight, and he pretty much dominated. So his ceiling is still pretty high. Even if Keith Thurman were to lose his next fight to like, let's say he fought Pacquiao and he lost to him, that's only one loss. So you know what I mean? That it is what it is. But Canelo, in people's mind, if he were to lose to Kirkland, they're like, oh, the Austin Trout fight, semi-controversial. He lost to Adeslani Lara in my book, or semi-controversial, etc. Same thing with like Lucas Matisse. Basically, Lucas or Canelo, they can't really afford to lose. That's the best way to put it. They're not in a position to really lose. It's not going to be a good look if they lose. Versus Keith Thurman, I mean, he looked good in his last fight. He's a champion. He's kind of on the way up. His ceiling looks pretty high. It looks like there's welterweights that he can beat, and people aren't going to question him. You know what I mean? He's still undefeated. Canelo is not undefeated anymore. Lucas Batiste is not undefeated anymore. So I don't know. It's looking kind of crazy for Oscar De La Hoya. If you understand this video, have questions, let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Who does Golden Boy have? If there's someone that I maybe left off that is a star, I'm talking about star power that Golden Boy has that they work with. Because again, you look at Top Rank, they got Pacquiao, so especially if he beats Mayweather, his stock is going to skyrocket. They have Felix Verdejo, who's up and coming. You know what I mean? Guys like that. That's what I'm talking about. Guys with high ceilings, like Lomachenko, high ceiling, because he has one loss to Salido, who outweighed him 20 plus pounds, but he's also been very impressive, and he has a great amateur background, so it looks like he'll be here for a while. Versus like a Lucas Matisse, if he, hypothetically, if he got knocked out by Ruslan Provodnikov, then that's going to be a huge blow to where he is. He can't really afford to lose, especially in a devastating fashion, because people are like, oh, you got knocked down twice by Molina, you lost to Danny Garcia, and then you got knocked out by Ruslan. You know what I mean? It's definitely not a good look for his career. So let me know what you guys think of Golden Boy. Who does Oscar have? Drop me a comment. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.